Today I'm going to do a review of dividing decimals. The purpose of the video is not homework, it's to help review dividing decimals and make corrections if needed on page 289 or 290. If at any time the pace is too fast, stop the video and rewind. Get out a piece of notebook paper if it's for a review and follow along. If you are doing corrections, get a piece of notebook paper and your paper that you've already done. So we're looking at page 289. And if you're doing the review, go ahead and stop the video and write down the problems and try them out and see if you get them when you start the video again and see if you get them right and follow along to check any mistakes that you made. So here we go. Our very first step is we're going to bring this decimal up to the top just like this. We're going to put a multiplication symbol right here because division is multiplication and multiplication is division. Just depends on which direction you go. We're going to be multiplying to get this number, or we could say we're dividing to get this number. Either way, the circle that we're going to make. What times 3 will get me to 2? Nothing. I'll put 0 times 3 is 0. We're going to make sure we write the number up here first and then do our 0 times 3 and put it here. Now we're going to subtract, ignore our decimal, and bring down our 9. What times 3 will get us to 29? Well, the closest that we can get is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. And I subtract, and I get 2. And I'm going to bring down my next number, which is 1. What times 3 will get me to 21? 7 times 3 is 21. And I'm going to subtract, and I get 0. I'll check my answer by doing multiplication. I take my quotient, 0.97, 97 hundredths, times my divisor, times 3, and I need to get my dividend. 3 times 7 is 21, carry my 2. 3 times 9 is 27 plus 2 is 29, carry my 2. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. There are 2 numbers behind the decimal, so there'll be 2 numbers behind the decimal in my answer, and I check. I drew that a little big. It checks out to match my dividend. So my answer here is 97 hundredths. So I'm ready to do number 6. I bring my decimal up to the top, put my times mark. What times 4 will get me close to 6? 1 times 4 will get me to 4. I subtract and get 2. I ignore my decimals, bringing down my 5. What times 4 will get me to 25 or close to it? I can do 6 times 4, which is 24, and I subtract and I get 1. And I bring down my 2. What times 4 will get me to 12? 3 times 4 will get me to 12. And I subtract and I get 0. Now I'm ready to check my answer. I check my answers with multiplication. I take my quotient, my answer, time my divisor, and I should get my dividend. 4 times 3 is 12, carry my 1. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25, carry my 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 2 numbers behind the decimals, 2 numbers behind the decimals in my answer. I check to see, and sure enough it's good. So that means that my answer is 1 and 6300. Let's do the next question. Number 7, carry my decimal to the top. I'm going to be multiplying to find my answers. What times 6 will get to 7? 1 times 6 is 6. I subtract and I get 1. I ignore my decimals and bring down my 0. What times 6 will get me to 10, closest to 10? 1 times 6 is 6, and I subtract. I get 4. Bring down my 2. That's 6 a little better looking. What times 6 will get me to 42? 7 times 6 is 42. And I subtract and I get 0. Now I need to check my, I'm going to take my quotient, that's my answer, and multiply it times my divisor and see if I get my dividend. 6 times 7 is 42, carry my 4. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 4 is 10. I carry my 1. 6 times 1 plus 1 is 7. There are 2 numbers behind the decimals. There'll be 2 numbers behind the decimals in my answer. Check to see if my dividends match. They do. So I believe that my answer is 1 17/100. Next problem is number 8. First thing I'm going to do is bring my decimal to the top. Put my times mark here. What times 5 will get me to 4? Nothing. Can't get there, so I subtract and I get 4. Ignore the decimals and bring down my 7. What times 5 will get me to 47? The closest I can get is 9 times 5, which is 45. Cannot have a number that's bigger than 47. I have to be closest to. When I subtract, I get 2. I bring down my 5. What times 5 is 25? 5 times 5 is 25. I subtract and I get 0. I'm ready to check my answer now. I take my quotient, my answer to my problem, multiply it times my divisor to see if my dividend is the same. 5 times 5 is 25. I carry my 2. 5 times 9 is 45 plus 2 is 47. Put my 7 down, carry my 4. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 4 is 4. I have 2 numbers behind the decimals. I'll have 2 numbers behind the decimal in my answer. And sure enough, my quotient, my product and my dividend match. So I'm good. I believe that my answer is good. It's 95/100. Okay, so now you need to look back over, see where any mistakes you've made, where you can identify and correct it. If you got them right, great job. Let's move on. We're going to do number 10 now. It says Keith has 7 8/10 ounces of tuna salad, and if he makes 3 sandwiches with equal amounts of tuna on each, how much tuna does he put on each? So let's kind of draw a little picture of this. We've got a bowl of tuna, and inside that tuna is 7 8/10. I want to make 3 equal sandwiches. I'm going to take it and split it 3 equal ways so that I can have each group of tuna that's inside here to make it into, to know how much I'm going to put in each one. That means I'm going to be taking the 7 8/10 and putting it into 1, 2, 3 groups. So let's start out. Take my decimal to the top, put my multiplication symbol there. What times 3 equals 7 or close to it? 2 times 3 is 6. That's the closest I can get it without going over. Ignore my decimal and bring down my 8. What times 3 will get me to 18? 6 times 3 is 18. And so my answer here is 2 6/10 ounces. We're moving on to number 11. A newspaper stand sold 1,000 copies with the city newspaper for $1,600. What is the price per copy? Okay, so I'm going to draw me another picture. Here is this is my check for $1,160. I need to find out how much one copy is. So that means that I'm going to be splitting up my money. So I've got to slice this into 1,000 groups. Of course, there's no way that I could draw a picture of that, but that tells me that my groups are 1,000, and that's going to go on the outside, and that my 1,600 is what's going to be going on the inside. That's what I'm going to split up because I need to know how much one of those copies cost. So let's put our time sign. There's no decimal to take up on this one. So let's start out. 1,000, what times 1,000 will give me to 1? Nothing. Bring down my 6. What times 1,000 will get me to 16? Nothing. And I bring it down, and I have 16 left over, and bring down my 0. What times 1,000 will give me 160? Still can't get to there. Whoops, that shouldn't be there. That's a 0. And just ignore that. My eraser's not working. Oh, I'm going to have to make my eraser work. Okay, got my eraser working now. Bring down my 0. What times 1,000 will get me to 1,600? The closest I can get is 1. 1 times 1,000 is 1,000. And I have a remainder of 600, and I'm not going to be able to do fractional remainders. I've got to take care of it with decimals. So I'm going to extend my line. I'm going to put a decimal, take it to the top. I'm going to add a placeholder 0 that does not change the value of that number. We're just going to simply use it to see if we can get this remainder to go away. What times 1,000 is 6,000? Well, 6 times 1,000 is 6,000. And I have no remainder. So I think that my answer is 1 6/10. But we're dealing with money. And we can't say 1 6/10. We have to say $1. And our money goes to the hundredths, so we would have to put a placeholder 0 there. So our answer would be $1.60. So we need to check our answer with multiplication. 1,000 times $1.60. Oh, whoops. Hold on, not $1.60, because our answer up here is a 1 6/10. Let's fix that. Okay, got it fixed. It won't show my eraser for some reason. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 1 is 6. Mark it out, placeholder 0. I'm going to do the same thing. 1 time each of those numbers. I'm going to add them together, placeholder 0 there. And sure enough, it matches, so we've got a good answer. Let's go to the next. Number 12 and 13. Inez bought a package of wrapping paper and 4 bows. If she wrapped 4 identical gifts with paper and bows, how much did it cost to wrap each gift? Okay, so she only bought 1 package of wrapping paper, but she bought 4 bows. And each of the bows, it says here, costs $1.05. So we first got to figure out how much she paid for bows. 4 times 5 is 20. Put my 0 down, carry my 2. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 4 times 1 is 4. There are 2 numbers behind the decimals, so 2 numbers behind the decimal in my answer. So I'm going to add it to the 1 package of wrapping paper. And in addition, we line up the decimals. I've got them nice and pretty and lined up. 6, 9, bring down my decimal. 3 plus 4 is 7. So now I had 4 identical packages. 4 will go into $7.96. So bring up my decimal. 1 times 4. My time is getting short. So I went ahead and finished our problem out. And we got $1.99. We're going to, Inez paid for wrapping paper and 4 bows with a $20 bill. How much change, that tells us to subtract, did she receive? Well, she had $20, and we knew that she spent $7.96. So I subtracted and got $12.03. And here's the last